All right, welcome back to Ebru Primetime News as we continue to update you on matters coronavirus and more. Now, the government has assured Kenyans that it has put in place necessary mechanisms to ensure that food supply and distribution is not disrupted even as the country tries to battle the spread of the coronavirus. Agriculture Minister Peter Munya says that the government will facilitate the transport of food from the sources of the markets with ease.
Faced by the rising pressure of battling the coronavirus, the government now admits that it's faced by a monstrous task of handling the virus.
It is evident that the economic impact of the pandemic is taking a toll on the national economy, and this impact is particularly being felt in the agricultural sector and particularly in the fresh produce industry.
As a result, there is a need to ensure that food distribution and supply chains remains undisrupted to avert potential food shortages.
It is critical to ensure that food systems are uninterrupted and that they do not provide avenues for further spread of the disease. And we are also alive to the reality that the country needs to be food secure. In order to avoid food shortages, it is imperative that we keep the food supply chains going.
In the efforts, the minister said that the national and county governments are working together to ensure that food supply remains unaffected.
The agricultural sector continues its operations and that food is available, accessible, affordable and safe for all Kenyan households.
Subsequently, Munya noted that food was classified as an essential service and its distribution, which takes place at night, should be guaranteed at all times.
And a discussion with the Ministry of Interior, and we have agreed that those who do transportation of food will therefore be allowed to transport their farm produce any time of the day and night.
The minister also said that the government was mapping out vulnerable families to ensure that they do not suffer from food shortages.
We are mapping the vulnerable households in this coronavirus era to ensure that they are supported with food. And again, the system we are adopting is using technology to make sure that we have correct data on where those vulnerable families are and how many they are, and then government will be able to provide vouchers that will be utilized in buying the food.
The coronavirus pandemic has sent shockwaves around world economies, with most of them putting measures to ensure that they caution their citizens against the effects of the disease. World over, 800,000 cases have been confirmed, out of which more than 7,000 people have died. In Kenya, nearly 60 cases have been confirmed, with another about 1,000 being monitored.
16 suspected cases of coronavirus in Kisii County have tested negative after their samples were sent for testing. Speaking to the press at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital, Kisii County Health CEC Sarah Umache revealed that out of the 18 specimens sent for testing, 16 of them tested negative. Elsewhere, Dr. Kevin Osuri, the chairman of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union in Nyanza region, has underscored the need for safety of medics in Kisii County in a bid to contain the global pandemic.
So far, 18 specimens have been collected from Kisii County to the labs to confirm, and 16 of those have been found. We have received the results are negative. They are negative. Right now, we are waiting for 2 cases of samples of blood that was taken for testing. I also want to say that we are prepared that in every sub-county there will be beds. We observe the World Health Organization guidelines that have been given by the Ministry of Health, that has been given by the Department of Health, that has been said by our governor, that truly we practice hygiene. That is number one.
We are experiencing a critical shortage of healthcare workers, staff, nurses, doctors, CEOs, and many other cadres. So we are experiencing a difficult time. These are unprecedented waters. These are uncharted waters that previously we did not encounter as a nation. And we are asking all the county governments and the national government to move with speed and haste and employ additional staff.
Now, the fight against the coronavirus pandemic has been taken to highways following reports that tens of families were fleeing from Nairobi, which has been the hardest hit by the disease. This came as officers from the Department of Public Health expressed their concern over the high number of people leaving Nairobi for Western Kenya.
During the exercise carried out by health officers in support from security personnel, hundreds of passengers had their temperatures checked as part of the exercise. According to the Naivasha Sub-County Public Health Officer George Ndichu, the exercise was part of the measures to make sure that the disease was not spread to rural areas. He said that the exercise, which had backing of the county government, was targeting passengers in public service vehicles from Nairobi and also checking the quality of sanitizers in the PSVs.
Going to the barriers or going to other issues, so he decided to do a stop-up check. This is primary screen, taking their temperature with a thermal gun, so that in case we have a case, we will be able to take care of it, just take it to the nearest facility.
The public health officer expressed his concern over the high number of passengers heading up country from Nairobi, noting that this could derail plans to stop the spread of the disease.
Matatus, they are coming all the way from Nairobi. So whether they are right in Naivasha or they proceed to the upper side of Nakuru, the fact remains it's good to scale up the surveillance.
Naivasha businessman James Karimi called for a total lockdown of counties affected by the disease, which has already claimed thousands globally. He said that a 14-day lockdown would work as there were fears that the high number of passengers heading up country could spread the disease.
Wasinigichu mkuja Naivasha, mtume watu Naivasha na machini, kila mtu atoe machini moja moja. Kwa hivyo ndio watu wakija huko kwenu tuhakikisha hawana ugonjwa. Huku Kichage, huko upande wa Ruro, mashinani, ikituchika sisi tutaumia zaidi.
Karimi lauded the rare move by the health officials, noting that other counties should emulate this and test all passengers entering the region. Passengers and drivers also praised the exercise, adding that all exit points from the affected counties should have a testing point.
Madhari watu wa Nairobi wakae Nairobi, watu wa Mombasa, watu wa Kilifi. Kwale. For 14 days tafadhalini. Hiyo ndio ningeweza kusema, lakini wale watu wanaenda kwa saa hii hatujachika mtu ambaye na hiyo joto ama nini, na tumepima gari nyingi sana na hatujapata.
A driver, Peter Moura, noted that traders had taken advantage of the outbreak to increase the price of sanitizers and also sell fake ones. Milia Kisenya for Ebru TV.
Now, Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua now says we should consider going back to our roots in traditional medicine to find a cure for COVID-19. Mutua has lashed out at Kenyan researchers for their silence during this pandemic period, stating that it is now then better for them for their training is needed the most.
We must start thinking that Kenya ama East Africa ni sisi tu, hakuna mahali pengine ulimwenguni na tuna ugonjwa hapa. Utatua sisi wote. We must find a homegrown solution. Tuko na miti shamba. Majority of diseases are cured from plants and others. Why can't we get to our labs and work? Kama mnafanya kazi mtuambie, we fund you, we help you, because wengine mtasema hamna pesa. Unajua that's a excuse napeana Africa kuna pesa. I want to ask you. Leprosy. The people came up with a cure for leprosy. People came up with vaccines. People came up with a cure for cholera, for tuberculosis, consumption, for syphilis, even for malaria. They do not have multi-billion laboratories. Hapana. Ni watu tuwe kuna lab ndogo, ni attitude and ability to come up with a cure. So I challenge all our educated people, maybe in education, maybe in business, maybe in communication, engineering, uko na PhD, uko na research degree, unafanya nini kwa wakati huu kuchangia kwamba economic solutions zetu zikuwe sawa, agriculture ikuwe sawa, tufikirie tuko hapa. Kwa hivyo mambo importation tuachana nayo. So I challenge, please don't sit at home, be quarantined. Ukiwa kwa ho, uko nyumbani, uko quarantine, wewe ni full professor and you can be in the lab, shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Get out. Get out. Go to the lab. Go to the university. Go everywhere. Enda pale chini uanze kumix matawi hapo chini ya nyumba yako. Do something to find a cure. Don't just sit down unangojea what is coming from the US.
All right, now moving on, the national and county governments have put in place stringent measures among travelers entering West Pokot County by ensuring that they sanitize and wash their hands in a bid to combat the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. Have a look.
Travelers in vehicles and motorbikes entering the county have to alight and wash their hands with soap under the supervision of security officers as they continue with the journey. West Pokot Governor John Lunyangapo, the County Commissioner Apollo Kelo, called on all passengers to obey the precautionary measures to avert the disease from affecting the county.
Hii ugonjwa haina mariko, haina ukubwa, haina heshima. Lazima sisi tujiheshimu kwa kufuata ile masharti tulipewa, kunawa mikono vile tumeona saa hii, na kuhakikisha mtu mwenye ako karibu na wewe ako mbali kulingana na zile vuti ambazo tumepewa.
So far, West Pokot County has not recorded any coronavirus case. Governor Lunyangapo says that all the 4 entry points at the county borders have been earmarked for sanitizing.
Mambo ya kujikinga na hii ugonjwa ya coronavirus kwa kuhakikisha every entry point wa hii county, mabarabara zote zenye zinaingia West Pokot ni karibu ine. The main one ni hii kutoka Mombasa, Nairobi, Eldoret, Kitale, kienda Lodwar mpaka Lokichokio. Kila mtu mwenye anaingia West Pokot kwa hii gate lazima ashuke, apewe sanitizer, anawe mikono na aendelee na safari zake.
The county boasts allowed residents for adhering to 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew, saying it is working well in the county. West Pokot County Commissioner Apollo Kelo called on residents to worry of the deadly coronavirus, explaining that it spread so fast and has no cure.
Tayari tumechukua hatua mbalimbali. Tumeweza kufunga mavilabu vyote vya pombe na vile vile tunazingatia kuona ya kwamba kufikia saa 1 wananchi wameweza kurudi nyumbani na wameweza kulala.
Has called on area residents to follow the regulations given out by the Ministry of Health. Apollo says they have shut down Auto Market, where onions are sold, and arrested 20 onions traders. He urged farmers to stop harvesting onions for the time being. He also called on residents to obey the curfew, saying that so have there been no problem that has been encountered.
Now, before the coronavirus pandemic, which threw Kenya and the world at large in a spin, we had the locust menace. Well, the locusts are still here. The Agriculture Ministry is saying that great progress has been made and maybe the pests could surrender by mid-April.
We have 6 planes that are spraying locusts every day, every morning and every evening, early evening when the locusts congregate. We have those planes out there being coordinated from our coordination center here in Kilimo House and the command center in Isiolo. And we keep abreast of what is happening every day. Some counties that are locusts are now locust free, like Kitui, because we intensified the ground spraying and the aerial spraying. Tharaka-Nithi is almost largely also locust free, even though there is a swarm or 2 that keep moving across the region. A very small swarm that, that now is somewhere next to Meru National Park. And Meru and the officers on the ground are tracking, and at an appropriate place where they will roast, it will also be sprayed. Sometimes there is a misunderstanding. People think that you must spray at every point. We take precautionary measures because if the locusts are somewhere where there is a home or water or other environmental precautions we take when we are dealing with them. So sometimes we do monitoring until at the appropriate time when we can do other measures like spraying. Therefore, the locust menace is with us, but we have done a lot of work to contain it, and we believe we will be reaching actually a decisive moment in the next 2 weeks, because right now we are intensifying our spraying in the epicenter counties of Marsabit, Samburu, Isiolo. That is where this menace is.
Now, just across our borders, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has called for a total lockdown to combat the spread of coronavirus. President Museveni faulted citizens for not following measures that had been imposed, forcing him to call for the lockdown. Uganda joins Kenya and Rwanda among countries in East Africa which have also called for a lockdown in a bid to fight the COVID-19 pandemic.
Several countries in the East African community have now been forced to call for partial and total lockdown in an attempt to limit the risk of the spread of the deadly COVID-19 virus. Few weeks ago, Rwanda went to a total lockdown after the number of the COVID cases surged, leaving the country with empty streets and forcing the government to start distributing foodstuff to households. The move would later be followed suit by Kenya, of a curfew from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Friday, 27th March 2020, there will be a daily curfew from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning.
We are suffering from cases of indiscipline, and Kenyans are exhibiting a very indisciplined behavior, and this is going to cost us.
The recent country that has administered the lockdown to its people is Uganda, with President Yoweri Museveni faulting citizens of not following instructions placed by the respective health ministries, as well as guidelines placed by the WHO. Amongst the measures in place include a curfew between 7 p.m. to 5 a.m., ban of movement of private vehicles, operation of food markets to continue, but under precautions of a distance of 4 meters between the buyer and the seller. Failure to follow guidelines and measures placed by the respective health ministries and the WHO within the East African countries have been cited as a challenge by most of its citizens, risking the spread of the COVID-19 that has so far seen Uganda coronavirus cases stand at 33, Kenya at 50, Tanzania at 19, with 2 deaths confirmed in Tanzania and Kenya.
Now, with tens of millions of Americans restricted to their homes by the coronavirus, charities that give food to the poor are struggling to meet increased demand from people out of work. Mike O'Sullivan reports on how one of the nation's largest food banks is coping with the need. Have a look.
Distribution efforts are up at the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, the nerve center for hundreds of small charities that operate neighborhood food pantries and meal programs. It was already experiencing rising demand in 2019 in an area coping with homelessness and soaring rents.
That was continuing into January and February, and yeah, as far as March is concerned, we've really moved into sort of a new world now.
With the economy at a near standstill, direct food distribution programs have expanded, breaking weekly records.
700 families showing up, 800, 950 families showing up.
And more recently, into the thousands. That's because many families have lost their income and most workers are staying at home because of orders by governors and mayors. The effects are far-reaching. In normal times, food banks can send help to other needy regions.
This pandemic is affecting all 50 states. It's affecting virtually all of our food banks.
But food banks are still trying to share information.
Silicon Valley, parts of the Bay Area got hit a little bit earlier than we did. So, getting on the phone with them has been very helpful to help us prepare and try to be proactive.
On the downside, across the United States, some neighborhood food pantries have closed.
Mostly because they are run by older individuals that are now sheltering in place. So food banks have had to make up for those closures in those communities by trying to schedule mobile distributions and the like to still continue to serve those communities.
What has made matters worse, food donations are down as well. Food banks are filling the gap by buying needed items on the open market. These charities say the distribution system is strained but still intact, at least for now. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
All right, on that note, we take another very short break, but we'll be right back with more news. Stay with us. All right, time for us to take a look at the world of sports. Now, a few weeks after the Elgeyo-Marakwet County ordered the closure of all training camps, 12 athletes were arrested in ITEN, Elgeyo-Marakwet County, for training in a group against the government's ban on social gatherings and sports activities. They were later released in the evening following intervention of local Athletics Kenya officials. The athletes, 10 Kenyans and 2 foreign nationals, were taken to ITEN police station after they were apprehended in the outskirts of ITEN town by the police and Elgeyo-Marakwet County health officials. Athletics Kenya officials who spoke to the media at the police station acknowledged that the athletes were at their fault. Last week, the county government ordered the closure of all athletics training camps in the county and banned group training.
It's not anymore about social distance. It's an individual training ambapo hakuna distance ambayo imepeanwa kuwa lazima keep such distance. You have to go alone. And it means alone.
Kwa leo tumefanyia kitu inaitwa warning. But they have, lakini lazima wachicommit in writing ya kwamba sitarudia kutrain na watu wengine. Nitakuwa nikitrain nikiwa peke yangu ama niaenda kukaa nyumbani kwangu mpaka hii siku ya corona ishi.
We have issued closure of all athletic training camps and gyms with the exception of individualized training. So you've realized that even this morning there are a number of athletes who are still training in a large crowd, and we are encouraging that now if an athlete has to train, then they should do that on an individual basis.
The Kenya Rugby Union has confirmed talks are ongoing with the national teams regarding their contracts in these harsh economic times caused by the deadly coronavirus. With the April pay just around the corner, anxiety has been growing whether the postponement of competitions and training aimed at reducing the spread of the virus will affect badly the pay slips of players. Now, the union sought to minimize anxiety by holding a meeting on Monday morning with Kenya's Sevens team manager Eric Ongweno, who in turn will brief players and other team officials on the same.
If you are playing 8 months, 16 days of training, or 3 weeks of training, then you travel back. So basically, in a year, you can't do anything.
Now, this is all we had for you this evening here at Ebru Primetime News. Thank you so much for choosing Ebru to inform you. As always, kindly at this time, maintain good hygiene. Always clean your hands with soap and water. If not, use sanitizer. Also maintain a social distance when with many people. My name is Diana Rachel Mbugua. Our sign language interpreter for tonight has been Joyce Wairimo. Good night and God bless you. And now leave you with the weather forecast.